evening. I would like to call the September 23rd, 2024 Blue Springs Planning Commission meeting to order. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tracy, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Ingersoll?
Here.
Commissioner Pumphrey?
Here.
Commissioner Stokenberry?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Sanderson?
Here.
Commissioner Cradoff?
Present.
Commissioner Graham? Commissioner Howe?
Here.
Chairperson Henning?
Here.
Perfect.
Thank you and welcome everyone this evening and those watching from home. Tonight's agenda consists of the minutes from the September 9th meeting, rezoning, plan development concept plan, and a preliminary plat for Ironwood, conditional use permit for PS Property Services, preliminary plat, final plat, and site plan design review for Bump City. At this time, I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda for the last meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Before we get on to the first item of the evening, we have an introduction. Mike?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to introduce all the planning commissioners and staff and public to our new, one of our new city attorneys, James Newell, who is recently started. James is with Lauber Municipal Law and will be serving as the primary point of contact for our planning commission attorneys. So welcome and look forward to working with you, James.
Welcome and glad to have you aboard. At this time, we'll move on to the first item. I will open the public hearing for agenda items number 2 and 3, which is the rezoning plan unit development concept plan for Ironwood with item number 4 held concurrently. At this time, I will ask for exhibits from staff.
Yes, we'd like to enter into the record exhibits 1 through 9 as listed on the agenda, and then also to note that an additional exhibit has been provided to the planning commissioners this evening regarding the project's conceptual landscape plan. It was just missed in the packet that got sent out. So that's what those sheets are there to kind of illustrate at a conceptual level what landscaping could look like.
Thank you. This public hearing is now open. Before we move on with the presentation, or if those that are here to speak in for or against this project, please rise and be sworn in as a group.
Please rise, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. At this time, I'll ask for the presentation. Dave.
Dave McCumber, 903 West Main Street, on behalf of the city. Before you this evening is an application for a rezoning, plan development concept plan, and preliminary plat. These applications were submitted by Ashler Homes and they serve as the applicant. The property that these applications were submitted for is generally located north and south of 40 Highway and east of the Adams Point Golf Club. This property was also annexed into the city on September 18th, 2024. A total acreage of 71.62 acres is involved with these applications. Currently, they are zoned AGC, which is Agricultural County, and the proposed rezoning is PDR/ADPO, that is Planned Development Residential Adams Dairy Parkway Overlay. The applicant is proposing to develop approximately 64.24 acres of the 71.62 acre property as the Ironwood subdivision, consisting of 134 single-family lots, 90 duplex lots, and 12 tracts of land, 5 of which are classified as designated open space. The development is proposed for the property north of 40 Highway. South of 40 Highway, the property will remain unchanged as most of it is within a floodway. To the north of the site is the Adams Point Village subdivision, which began around the early 2000s and is still under construction of its third plat. The extension of Northeast Pavilion Drive is proposed to be extended from Adams Point Village south to 40 Highway. This extension serves as the main thoroughfare for residents of the subdivision. The proposed residential subdivision offers a variety of homes ranging from a minimum livable floor area of 2,200 square feet down to 1,200 square feet for single family and duplex buildings. Here's kind of a quick view, and they'll be presented by the applicant in a moment in their presentation of the different proposed homes across the subdivision and their different minimum livable square footage. The applicant has conveyed that the spectrum of housing types within this single subdivision will allow future residents to age within the neighborhood if they so choose by providing products for each stage of life. Additionally, the entire subdivision will be maintenance provided for lawns and landscaping, which is attractive to those who have busy lifestyles or lack a green thumb. The comprehensive plan C2 area specific plan development concept map has designated the property for small-scale multifamily, which would involve the development of 2, 3, and 4-plexes, townhouses, and walk-up apartments on lots that are sized like detached housing lots. While the proposed development does not completely align with the C2 area-specific plan, it does include an element that was identified by providing the duplex buildings with each unit being for sale for fee simple ownership. When comparing the Ironwood subdivision to what types of development are achievable as outlined in the C2 area specific plan, the units per acre are much less dense compared to if this land was being proposed completely for small scale multifamily development types. The proposed zoning district of PD/R/ADPO allows the applicant to set a personalized standard for each building type within the development. The standards have been provided in their written plan development narrative and is listed in the plan development and building type standards section of the staff report. The subdivision is designed for a density of 3.13 dwelling units per acre and features front-loaded single-family and duplex building types. The minimum livable floor area breakdown of the subdivision is color-coded on the concept plan sheet and arranged by blocks. The blue lots, or Class C as identified in the UDC for minimum livable floor area, are west of the proposed Pavilion Drive extension and directly south of Adams Point Village. This block is separated by Tract A, a 33-foot wide tree preservation easement, which includes a 33-foot wide tree preservation easement from Adams Point Village and abuts Adams Point Golf Club on the west. The plan development standards most closely align with the detached house neighborhood lot building type as defined in the UDC. Adams Point Village lots 30A, 31, and 32 were classified as Class A and require a minimum livable floor area of 2,600 square feet. The applicant is proposing to skip from Class A to Class C by providing the tree preservation easement to create a visual separation from the different classifications across the two subdivisions. The green lots, or Class D, are south of the blue block and east of Pavilion Drive. The plan development standards most closely align with the detached house small lot building type as defined in the UDC. South of the blue block, the applicant is proposing to provide an incremental minimum livable floor area step down from Class C to Class D. East of Pavilion Drive, Adams Point Village lots 73 through 79 were classified as Class B and require a minimum livable floor area of 2,400 square feet. The applicant is proposing to skip from Class C to Class D along this section of the subdivision's northern boundary by providing a 20-foot wide tree preservation easement within a tract to create a visual separation from the different classifications across the two subdivisions. The yellow lots, or Class H, centralized on the site, are insulated from the subdivision to the north and have the most dramatic step down from the green lots to the north. The yellow blocks align with Class H minimum livable floor area and require a minimum 1,200 square feet for each dwelling. The applicant has indicated within their narrative that the size of lots and diversity of housing types will cater well to the aging population in Blue Springs, as discussed by the comprehensive plan. The architectural character of the subdivision is provided in the plan development narrative and states that a mix of ranch and conventional style homes with a variety of elevations, color palettes, and masonry materials will be provided. A non-monotony covenant will prevent repetitive use of colors and front designs by side or across the street buildings, maintaining the community's long-term aesthetic appeal. The applicant has also stated all garage doors will be a mix of designs to include some with windows and some without. The duplex buildings, which follow the requirements of the residential design standards, are proposed to have garages that do not exceed 25% of the front facade of each building. The applicant's engineer has stated that the duplex buildings are new to Ashler Homes and do not yet have final design drawings. However, they estimate the garage facings will only equate to approximately 16% of the total front facade of the buildings. Each duplex building includes a front door on the front facade and the second on the side facade, which helps blend the duplex buildings in with the adjacent single-family dwellings. This sort of architecture makes for a smoother visual transition from the single-family to two-family dwellings than what is typically seen across the community. Minimum parking for each dwelling of the subdivision will be met, as each single-family home will come with a 3 or 2 car garage option and driveway space, and the duplex buildings provide 1-car garages with a driveway space. Northeast Pavilion Drive, currently constructed in the Adams Point Village subdivision, is a local collector street and will be extended through the Ironwood subdivision to 40 Highway. The street extension will provide a crucial connection for traffic and emergency services access and circulation on the east side of the city. 5-foot sidewalks are being provided on one side of the street in the subdivision, and a system of trails are provided for tracks throughout the subdivision. A traffic impact study has been completed to determine how the development of this area will influence traffic along 40 Highway, Pavilion Drive, R.D. Mize Road, and Snyabar Road. The impact to the roadway network is expected to be minimal, with minor changes to the level of service at studied intersections. 2 turn lanes are recommended to be constructed, 1 for left turns and 1 for right turns from eastbound and westbound 40 Highway for traffic that's entering into the development. No traffic signals are being proposed with this development. A preliminary stormwater management plan has been submitted that includes multiple detention basins and BMPs to control runoff and water quality. A final stormwater management plan will need to be prepared by a professional engineer registered in the state of Missouri and submitted to Public Works for review. Gravity sanitary sewer is available to the south of the development. The sanitary sewer has capacity to convey flows generated for this development, but the developer is responsible for extending sewer within the property in order to serve the site. The applicant has provided the PD standards have identified a conceptual monument sign to be located within a tract at the subdivision's entrance on 40 Highway. All signs will have to be approved with a sign permit. If the signs do not comply with the sign code, the applicant may request a master alternative sign plan. The applicant has provided a conceptual landscape plan. All final landscaping, including required plant units, will be reviewed with the PD final plan. Each single-family lot is required to meet the minimum 45 plant unit minimum, plus applicable street tree requirements prior to the issuance of occupancy. Buffers are only required along the 40 Highway frontage as outlined in the staff report in the frontage and landscape section. Since the proposed development falls within the Adams Dairy Parkway overlay, the applicant is required to provide a minimum of 15% open space, which equates to approximately 10.74 acres. The applicant is providing 12.25 acres, or 17.1% of open space across 5 tracks of the 12 tracks designed. While 12 tracks are proposed within the development, only 5 are counted towards the open space systems as outlined in the UDC. Tracks I and J are being platted as preserve areas and will serve to protect the stream that runs through the property from the disturbance of the development. A trail will be constructed through these tracks and will hug the lots along the west side. Within tracks A and J are tree preservation easements along the north property line that abuts the lots in Adams Point Village. These easements are recorded with the final plats of the development and protect the existing mature, healthy trees from being removed. If a tree within the easement is damaged during construction, a replacement will be required in accordance with the UDC. The maintenance of these easements and tracks are the responsibility of the HOA. As shown, the property is proposed to be developed in 3 phases. Phase 1, shown in red, includes all lots west of Northeast Pavilion Drive Extension, plus Tract C, from 40 Highway to the northern boundary. Phase 2, shown in green, is proposed for lots between Northeast Pavilion Drive and the stream buffer, or Tracks I and J. Finally, Phase 3, shown in blue, will be for the lots east of the stream buffer, or Tracks I and J. Northeast Pavilion Drive will need to be completed with the first phase of the development to provide a second point of access, since more than 30 lots are proposed in that phase. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning application. Staff also recommends approval of the plan development concept plan application with conditions. And finally, staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat application with conditions. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff and commissioners before we get to the applicant?
Mr. McCumber, could you expand on what you meant specifically about it didn't align, part of this didn't align with the C2 area plan?
Yeah, so in the city's comprehensive plan, there's a more narrow plan that's more specific. It's called the C2 area plan. And in that area plan, it designates the entire property for a development type that is called small scale multifamily. And that consists of 2, 3, and 4 plexes, townhomes, and small walk-up apartments. So in that part of the presentation, I was explaining that this application doesn't completely align with that. However, an element of that development type is being proposed in the duplex buildings.
Thank
The turn lanes on 40 Highway, what phase are those going to be done in? Are they going to be completed before phase 1 starts, or? My concern is just all the construction traffic that wants to turn off 40 Highway
Sure.
to get into the subdivision is going to create it even before the development starts.
Yeah, I can address that to some extent. So Adam Hilgedick from Public Works, the traffic impact study, I don't believe it identified a certain point at which the turn lanes would be required, but given the majority of the homes are with that first phase, any infrastructure that would be necessary for that first phase would be included in that first construction round. So it appears on this map that at least that right turn lane and the other, you could see some arrows and right there, the turn lane for the left turn. They're both shown in this map, and specifically the right turn lane for that westbound traffic is shown in that first phase.
I think I'm more concerned about eastbound traffic flying at 55 miles an hour through there, and a car just stopped on 40 Highway waiting to turn in. I think that's my biggest concern.
And I think the applicant's engineer will be prepared to address that.
That's all I got.
Any other questions from commissioners for staff before we hear from the applicant?
Yeah, Chair,
Yes.
can you clarify one more time? You said what the class to the north was?
So there's two different classes in the Adams Point subdivision, Adams Point Village subdivision. Those on the west side of Northeast Pavilion Drive, along here that abut this property, are Class A, and those are a minimum livable floor area of 2,600 square feet. And on the east side, the lots over here are Class B, and that would be 2,400 square foot minimum.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Would the applicant like to come up?
Good evening, Sean Woods with Ashlar Homes. Our office is at 2800 Northwest Hunter Drive, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64015. So we've got a quick presentation for you tonight on this development. Obviously, like I said, Ashlar Homes and Ironwood is the proposed name of this development that we're extremely excited about. A little bit about Ashlar. We've been building in Kansas City since 2011. I live in Blue Springs, office is in Blue Springs. We build a little over 100 homes a year, and we were recently listed as the 4th largest home builder in the Kansas City Metro by the Kansas City Business Journal. Our mission there at the site is to build attainable, innovative housing in desirable and vibrant communities. We're a little bit different than most developers in that we build everything we develop, so every single house in that development will be built by Ashlar Homes. We don't sell lots off to other builders. Ironwood project, got a little bit about it, 71 acres, 179 lots. Didn't really touch on it much, we'll touch on it later. It does have a central gathering space. It's not quite large enough to house a pool. And also with the maintenance provided that we're proposing, we have done 2 maintenance provided communities in Blue Springs, one being Indigo Hills and one Sunny Point Villas. We finished both those projects, we didn't start them, but they were very successful, and that's why we're proposing the maintenance provided here. With maintenance provided, typically we get an older clientele that doesn't necessarily want a pool, so we're proposing a different type of amenity here. Again, that's just a visual of where the site is at in comparison to 40 Highway and the golf course there you see on the northwest of it. We did pull up the comprehensive plan, so just so you guys kind of understand as a developer what we do when we decide to start looking at a property. We first look at the comprehensive plan to see what exactly was being dreamed up to be in this area. In this case, it was the small scale multifamily, which was duplexes, triplexes, or fourplexes is what was supposed to be on this property or what was proposed for it. Obviously, we knew that with the neighborhood to the north, that probably wasn't going to fly very well, and we didn't think that was the product mix we wanted to have. So we kind of went back to the drawing board and figured out how to scale the neighborhood down as we came from the north to the south towards 40 Highway. Tree preservation, as was touched on one side of the street, on the west side, we have a 33-foot wide tree preservation easement that we're buffering against. The neighboring community also has another 20 foot in there, so you actually have about 50 to 55 feet on that side of the road that is tree preservation through between the two communities. And then on the other side, I think it's 21 or 22 feet on our side, and then another 20 on theirs, so it's about 40 feet on that side of the road that is tree preservation that won't be disturbed. Landscape plan, this is just an overall landscape plan that kind of shows you how we're going to come through the neighborhood with street trees. Our buffering out on 40 Highway, we will have extensive landscaping out on 40, and that'll be mowed and maintained and irrigated just like the rest of the community will be. All the lots will be irrigated and treated with lawn treatments and things like that. Entry monument, you got a little taste of that. We are proposing a center median. The entry monument will be housed inside that center median. We just feel like it gives a much better visual effect as you're coming off 40 Highway, and with the new turn lanes, it kind of separates the road and the drives as you come in. Here's the central gathering space. This is actually a picture of, I don't know if you guys have seen this, in Town Center in Overland Park. This is housed between commercial space, if you will. Obviously, we're not going to have commercial buildings around it, but we are proposing a burn pit to the east side that you can see there next to the pavilion. And then the strings of lights you see in the black and white are kind of mimicking this here. So we're looking to do a turfed lawn area that's just there for hangout time, lawn games, croquet, cornhole, anything we can do to get people to gather in a central space is what we're looking for.
Where is that gonna be located?
If you we'll keep going, and I'll show that to you here in just a second. HOA, like we talked about, maintenance provided, so it'll include trash removal, mowing of all the yards, irrigation, bed maintenance, and then lawn treatment programs on every yard. And then high quality construction on the homes. Every home in here will be Energy Star certified. We'll be using fiber cement siding on the exteriors of all of them, so like a James Hardie product on the outside, which gives for nice longevity, 15 years of guaranteed paint. Everything we do is double wall construction. As I already said, irrigation on all the homes. You got a little sampling of the front elevations. There'll be 32 different front elevations across 15 different floor plans, and we will have monotony rules to where you can't put same houses side by side or across the street side by side. And you also can't mimic colors in that same diagram. So even if it's a different floor plan, you can't have the same color combination until you get outside of that block. We pulled up some comps of Adams Point Village. So you can see that they're going anywhere from $495,000 up to $750,000. And we did that just so we can show you how we're going to be stepping down as we come down through the neighborhood. And then as we already talked about, the step down that we're doing. So we start all the way to the north with our largest product at 2,200 square feet. Those prices will come in between $500,000 and $600,000. So pretty much real similar to what you're seeing in Adams Point Village. As we get down towards the course, those will be 600 plus because we'll have lot premiums on those lots. Then the 2,000 square foot, which is the green, will be those two other blocks. Those will start at 425 and go to 500,000. And then as we step down to the 1,200 square feet, we'll be at 325 to 425 on the single family houses. And just so you know, you guys don't have a good step in there to meet our square footages. Our smallest house we currently build is 1,350 square feet, but I couldn't go to your next step up is 1,400, so I couldn't quite fit in there. So that's why we're proposing the 1,200. But for us, I know a lot of people don't agree with this sentiment, but for us, we love to build communities that have 5 and 6 different price points in them. For one, it makes the community sell faster, but it also makes it to where somebody can buy in at one of the duplexes, they can move to a 1,400 square foot house, and then they can move to a 22. Or, as we see a lot of times in Indigo Hills, we saw this many times, Indigo Hills has a very similar maintenance provided product on one side, and then an upper end product, 600 to 800,000 on the other. Many times people were moving out of those $700,000 houses down into the smaller houses because they were aging and they didn't need a big space anymore. These are just a sampling of some of our front elevations. We have all the price points in there. So that's on the right. There's a 2-car garage that's the higher price point. On the left in the lower corner, that's one of the 325 to 450 price points, just so you can see a sampling of the elevations. We mixed in our elevations with the current Adams Point Village. So Adams Point Village is across the bottom and we're over the top. And again, everything's up to interpretation, but in my mind, those blend very well together, look very similar as far as product offering and type. These are the samplings you were seeing earlier. This is just some of the samplings of our 2,200 square foot product. A lot of that product is we build primarily ranch floor plans because it appeals to all audiences. But again, maintenance provided is going to be an older clientele. So most of the homes in here will be single level, but we do have 2 stories as well. So that's some of the 2,200 square foot with 3 cars. This is what it looks like with 2 cars. We will push people that want 3-car garages towards the larger lots, and then the 2-car garages will be reserved for the smaller or narrower lots. 2,000 square feet, we actually have some 3-car garage offerings in that as well, and then some 2 cars as well. We do in the 2,000 square foot, we do build a few more 2 stories in that range, but still quite a few ranches. And then the 1,300 square feet does have 1 2-story in it, and everything else is ranches because that primarily appeals to an older demographic typically. The villa product, like we said, is something new for us. We have villa product that we rent in other locations. This is going to be sold. It is not going to be available for rent, and it will have inside the restrictions. We'll have restrictions that they cannot rent them for a certain period of time. But this is exactly what the product is going to look like. We just haven't taken this to construction drawings yet. So we're pretty excited about it because of its look from the front elevation. That it looks exactly like a real large single-family house. But it is a duplex, so you're gonna have 2 living units, and this is the smaller of the 2 units. There will be another unit that's designed very similarly, but it'd be larger than this one. Then we just gave you a sampling of some of our quality interior finishes. So we have, range in products where somebody can build a very simple, basic house, and they can scale it all the way up to really as much as they want to add in the inside to finishing touches and personalization that they want to add. 40 Highway, as we talked about, the turn lanes, both sides, east and westbound, will be built with the first plat. So that will be in effect. Obviously, it's not going to be there while we're actually putting the infrastructure into the first plat, but when first plat's open for construction traffic, both those turn lanes would be there. MoDOT is asking us to leave a 30-foot clear zone in there, which just means that they've got a 30-foot zone that we cannot go into and build anything. Our entry monument's got to be out of that 30-foot clear zone, which we have obviously taken into account here. And then, as we already talked about, the divided entrance at the front with the entry monument in the center. I just want to go back and summarize your comprehensive plan. As I said, we take a lot of study into that when we do it. Comprehensive plans are huge for a developer to get kind of a bearing of what the city's looking for. This area being proposed was to be low density multifamily across the entire community. So that entire section was proposed to be duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. But then we went back and in your comprehensive plan, there's some nice carve-outs of what Blue Springs looks like from a demographic, and I would agree with it. It says that by 2025, 50% of all households could be single occupant, which I would agree with. There's a much more demographic of single occupants in house, which lends itself to a smaller household. They don't need as big of a house when they're living singly, and as well when we're doing the maintenance provided and we're building for a older clientele, they're typically looking for a smaller home with nicer finishes. And as you said in your comprehensive, all these things are pulled right out of your comprehensive plan, but population of Blue Springs is getting older. Over the past several decades, an increase in the percentage of empty nesters and retirees, which that is definitely a demographic that is growing in Blue Springs. And 75% of the housing in Blue Springs is single family. And this development stays with that kind of percentage. If you look at our percentage of lots based on single family to the duplexes, we're staying within a pretty good breakdown of that link. And then neighborhoods and gathering places is something that was called out in your comprehensive plan. It called for integrating lots of housing choices into a neighborhood and giving them a central place to gather in the neighborhood. So that's why we have done the step downs of price point, product, and then right dead in the center, we gave them that central gathering space. And we, as a company, we love that kind of setup as well. Like I said, we like to have multiple products, and we want to have an amenity feature in the center of the community that everybody can find as a place to gather on a Saturday or a Friday night for movie night or whatever they want to do. Strengthening the urban tree canopy. We did that through obviously street trees and then the tree preservations that we did on the northern sides. And then considering adjacent properties, we tried to do that as well by trying to do the step down to where we felt like we were being cognizant of the product that was north of us. I think that's it, isn't it? Yeah. So that's my presentation. If you guys have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. And we have our engineer here too, if there's any engineering questions that come up.
I have a couple questions. Could you go back and show us where that pit was you mentioned you were gonna?
Yeah. Sorry. Can you go back to that slide that has it in the center? Okay, so the slide, the orange dot, if you can see it, I think it's orange, but the central gathering area is right there in dead center off of Pavilion Drive is that's the location of the gathering space. And then would you mind going back to that slide that had the visual of just that space? I don't remember what, right there. So it's kind of hard. So you have the picture there that's a visual of it, but then to the right of the picture, there's a field that has like strings across it. Those strings are actually overhead lights like you're seeing in the picture. So that's there. And then the squares you're seeing on that, one side is cornhole, one side is like bocce ball. And then as you start to go to the right even more, there's like, 8 chairs around a burn pit there between the field and the pavilion. And then furthest to the right, just a square box with a line through the center of it, that is a covered pavilion.
So who would have access to that area?
Anybody that lived in the community. Yeah, it'll be maintained by the HOA and, yeah.
And Mr. Kradoff, the extra exhibit that was provided at the beginning of the presentation, sheet L1, it kind of shows up better on the hard copy. The line work sometimes, especially thin line work on drawings, can be hard to see on some of these monitors.
Okay.
What's that? In the pack.
I have another question for you.
Sure.
Could you elaborate on what you meant about you can't rent for a certain period of time?
Yeah, so I've asked my attorney this many times, we can't restrict renting for forever, but we will put a provision in there that they have to be fee simply bought. There'll be rules of nobody can own more than one unit. Somebody can own a building, but they can't own, multiple buildings in the neighborhood. And there will be provisions in there that they can't be rented under a lease agreement for some period of time. I don't know the exact rules right now, but the last time I checked on that, it was somewhere between 5 and 6 years that we could do that within our CC&Rs, and then that becomes extremely hard after that point. But we're designing this to be for, I live very close to the Indigo Hills community. I walk through it every night, and amazingly, those single-family maintenance provided are lots and lots of widows and single people living in those. They don't need a large house, and that's this duplex is set up to be for that, or a young person who doesn't want to maintain their yard, but they can afford to buy their first house. That would be their first home.
Thank you.
Chair, can I add? I just
Yes.
wanted to point out as well that this product, the duplex product in particular, is a little different than what we've seen in other parts of the city in that in the preliminary plat and in the final plat, these are proposed to be individual lots for each duplex. So when the developer says fee simple, that means the owner would be buying the whole unit, the half of the unit, and the ground that goes along with that. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, and we'll go in after the foundation's set in there. We'll do a survey of the actual center line of the foundation and the property, and that will be what they're buying. So they're actually buying the whole
So
thing.
it's not gonna be one lot with a duplex on it. It's gonna
Correct.
be, each duplex will have its own lot, and that lot line will essentially drive straight through the property.
Exactly.
The
Yep.
structure.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant before we hear from public comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this project? Anybody in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to? Nobody? All right. The public comment section of this hearing is now over. Any further comments or discussion from staff?
No.
And we just heard from the applicant, but anything else?
We're good. Thank you.
I'll bring it back up here to my fellow commissioners. Any questions for anybody? Having said that, I will close the public hearing. And I would ask for a motion on the rezoning portion.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
Move to approve rezoning RZ 08249256 for Ironwood.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And Tracy, can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Howe,
Aye.
Commissioner Cradoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry,
Aye.
Commissioner Pumphrey,
Aye.
Commissioner Ingersoll,
Aye.
Chairperson Henning.
Aye.
All ayes.
Motion passes. And at this time, I'd also ask for a motion for the plan development concept plan. And I believe in the report, staff had 4 suggested conditions.
Chair.
Yes.
I move to approve plan development concept plan PDC 08249257 Ironwood and with the 4 staff conditions.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, Tracy, please.
Commissioner Cradoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry,
Aye.
Commissioner Pumphrey,
Aye.
Commissioner Ingersoll,
Aye.
Commissioner Howell,
Aye.
Chairperson Henning.
Aye. And that passes unanimously. And one more time, a motion for the preliminary plat, and I believe there was 6 suggested staff conditions on that.
Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve preliminary plat PP 08249258 for Ironwood with the 6 staff conditions.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously as well. Moving on to the next agenda item. At this time, I will open the public hearing for agenda item number 4, the conditional use permit, CUP 08249259 for PS Property Services. I will ask for exhibits from city staff.
Staff would like, oh, can you bring it up, Chris? Yep. You bring up the agenda, please, Chris. Oh, page 1.
Oh, we're in the presentation.
Go to the
Gotcha.
left. There you go. Now I'll go all the way up. And zoom out. Apologize. Staff would like to enter exhibits 1 through 8 as identified in the agenda into the record for tonight's hearing.
If there's anybody here to speak in favor or opposition to the project, would you please rise and be sworn in? Or the applicant, if the applicant is here, please rise. All right.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Chris, do you have a presentation for us?
Yes, sir. Christopher Willis, 903 West Main Street, on behalf of the city. It's going to be a conditional use permit. Before you this evening is a conditional use permit request with alternative development standards for 309 through 315 Northwest 10th Street. The subject property is located at the southwest corner of 10th and Vesper Streets. The applicant, Stacy Heath, has made a request to operate her property maintenance business, PS Properties LLC, from this location. PS Properties LLC falls under the Building and Construction Contractor Land Use category of the United Development Code. The applicant previously received approval for a conditional use permit in 2023. That was specifically for the address of 315 Northwest 10th Street. The applicant has since changed addresses within the property since the previous conditional use approval, and that was specifically assigned to 315. The CUP application will be for the entire property. That'll be 309 through 315 Northwest 10th Street. Show you the site with some zoning. The property in question is zoned GB, General Business. In that zoning district, the building and construction contractor as a land use requires approval of a conditional use permit. The special standards of the UDC provides additional regulations to this land use, which specifically focus on outdoor storage, parking of company vehicles, the location of overhead doors, etc. Picture of the site. All right, and the applicant has requested 2 modifications, and these include the allowance of existing overhead doors which front a collector street, and this is a deviation from the UDC. Staff supports this request as there are no plans to make further modifications to the building. And the other deviation is the allowance for overnight parking of company vehicles in front of the street side of the building, which is also a deviation from the UDC. And staff is supportive of this request as the existing site was designed in a way that would be difficult to meet this criteria given the constraints, and this front yard was the only feasible area for the parking. If any further site development is proposed in the future, compliance with the UDC will be required. And there are staff recommends approval of the CUP with 4 conditions. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Chris on this? Would the applicant like to speak on behalf of your project? You don't have to. Nobody's gonna put a gun to your head.
I think Chris explained it.
If you are gonna speak, we need you to come up to the, thank you. And you were sworn in, so
Thank you.
go right ahead.
I think Chris explained it really well, so unless you guys have any questions for me, we're doing the same thing we did last year.
Mhm. Anybody in the audience that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to? Seeing none. I will close the public comment section of this hearing. Any other discussion from staff?
Not at this time.
Commissioners? All right. I will close, the public hearing is closed, and I will ask for a motion on the conditional use permit with 4 conditions.
Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve conditional use permit CUP 08249259 for PS Property Services with the 4 conditions.
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Tracy, can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Stokenberry,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Cradoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Howell,
Aye.
Commissioner Ingersoll,
Aye.
Commissioner Pumphrey,
Aye.
and Chairperson Henning.
Aye. This item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their October 7th meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is 6, 7, and 8, preliminary plat, final plat, site plan design review for Bump City. Dave, you got a presentation for us?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Before you this evening, Dave Montgomery, 903 West Main Street, just in case. Before you this evening is an application for a preliminary plat, final plat, and site plan design review. The application was submitted by Sean Caton of Caton Architectural Design, LLC, and is an application for the property located at 1001 Northwest Jefferson Street. The property in its totality is approximately 3.64 acres in size and is currently zoned GB General Business. The applicant is proposing to construct a 7,500 square foot building addition to the north side of the building on the property addressed 1001 Northwest Jefferson Street, which is currently home to Bump City. After completion of the addition, the building will be 19,500 square feet in size. The site, as it exists today, has a legal nonconforming feature due to the building's side setback from the west property line, and you can kind of see that. You zoom in here a little bit. The proximity of that property line to that building there. It's pretty much right on the property line when it was constructed. And this isn't showing up very clearly on the monitors, so I apologize for that. Let's see if we can bring it in closer. To alleviate the expansion of the nonconformity of the site, a plat is required to remove the lot line between this lot and the neighboring to the west, both of which are under the same ownership. The building on the site is designated as a general commercial building type and is permitted in this zoning district. The final plat details an access easement, which was provided on the previous plat of the Weatherstone Business Park, but now extends across all drive aisles of the property. This is done so that in the future, if the owner of the property decides to split the lots again, it can be done, but still allow vehicular access across both sites. The building addition is proposed for the north side of the existing Bump City building and will cover the outdoor pool and enclosure area. Like the original building, the addition will feature corrugated metal siding and share the same roofline height. The east elevation will feature a new pedestrian set of doors, while the west elevation will have a roll-up overhead door for ventilation. According to the site plan, there is no curb cut to this proposed overhead door, limiting its usage. Minimum required parking is met on the property for the land uses. This development is expected to be completed in a single phase. No new public improvements are required of this project. A new public sidewalk was provided this year across the frontage of the property at 1101 Northwest Jefferson Street as part of the city's sidewalk gap program. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat with a condition, approval of the final plat with 3 conditions, and approval of the site plan design review with a condition. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Does the applicant here like to talk about the project or answer questions?
Sean Caton, 6320 Marion Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri. I'm the architect on this, and it's pretty straightforward. It's just they're expanding the inside, make more room undercover for their gymnastics and kind of the play area. The pool to the north has not been used in I think they said over 5 years. So basically just utilizing area that's been abandoned, and we're going to clean it up and get rid of the old pool enclosure and just make it look like the building was there. But any questions, I'm here.
Any questions for the applicant? Thank you very much. Any questions for staff? All right, I would entertain a motion on the preliminary plat.
Chair,
Yes.
move to approve preliminary plat PP 08249261 for Bump City with the 1 staff condition.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. And a motion for the final plat with 3 conditions.
Chair,
Yes.
also approve to the final plat PF 08249262 with the 3 staff conditions for Bump City.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And moving on for a motion on the site plan design review.
Chair,
Yes.
also approve site plan design review SPDR 08249260 with the 1 staff condition.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously as well. Moving on from that about does it for our meeting. Does staff have any other business or announcements for us this evening?
No, we don't.
Nothing. All right.
Should I?
Wow. Nothing like putting you on the spot there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any other business from any commissioners? Having that, we are done. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
Thanks, sir.
This meeting is adjourned.